In Ukraine's war-torn dawn, drones hum through the sky, carrying the will of a nation unbroken by 3 years of Russian aggression. These machines, born from ingenuity and desperation, have redefined warfare. Now, a bold partnership with the United States has unleashed Artemis, a drone that defies Russia's defenses and lifts the U.S. military into a new era. This is the story of courage, innovation, and an alliance that could change the world. The story begins in the chaos of 2022, when Russian tanks rolled across Ukraine's borders, leaving a trail of destruction and despair. Cities crumbled, families fled, and the world watched, holding its breath. But Ukraine didn't just endure, it adapted. Out of necessity, its people turned to drones, transforming cheap, off-the-shelf devices into instruments of precision and power. By 2023, Ukraine's skies were alive with UAVs, striking Russian convoys, disrupting supply lines, and proving that a small nation could outsmart a Goliath. These weren't the sleek, billion-dollar drones of Western militaries. They were scrappy, innovative, and born from the ingenuity of a people with everything to lose. Ukrainian engineers, many working in makeshift labs under the threat of airstrikes, churned out designs that prioritized range, payload, and affordability. The Auterion drone, introduced in 2024, became a legend in its own right, with a range of over 620 miles and the ability to carry 110-pound warheads deep into Russian territory. By October 2025, reports suggested Auterion drones had struck targets as far as 932 miles away, hitting Russia's oil refineries and military depots with devastating precision. Yet, for all its brilliance, Ukraine faced a daunting challenge: Russia's electronic warfare. Moscow's GPS jammers, deployed across its vast territory, scrambled the signals that guided Ukraine's drones, rendering many ineffective. The Kremlin's Shahed 136 drones, crude but relentless, also posed a threat, swarming Ukrainian defenses and exploiting gaps in the chaos. Ukraine needed a breakthrough, a drone that could pierce Russia's defenses, resist its jammers, and deliver a blow that would echo across the Kremlin's halls. Enter the United States. For decades, the U.S. had led the world in military technology, its arsenals brimming with fighter jets, missile systems, and aircraft carriers. But drones, that was a different story. While Ukraine was rewriting the rules of warfare, the U.S. was caught flat-footed, its drone programs mired in bureaucracy and overshadowed by investments in traditional platforms. As CNN reported in September 2025, most American soldiers lack the know-how for fighting with unmanned systems. And while the U.S. has excelled at building large, expensive weaponry, it is unprepared to produce large quantities of small, cheap systems like drones. The realization stung. Lieutenant General Charles Costanza, speaking at the Association of the U.S. Army's 2025 symposium, admitted, "We're behind. I'll just be candid." The U.S. had watched conflicts like the 2020 Armenia-Azerbaijan war, where drones turned the tide, but failed to act. Ukraine, however, wasn't just watching. It was building, testing, and fighting. And in that crucible, an opportunity emerged. In early 2025, whispers of a bold new project began to circulate. Ukraine, battered but unbowed, reached out to Auterion, a US-based company specializing in drone software and AI. Together, they set out to create a drone that would embody every lesson learned in Ukraine's war. Rugged, versatile, and unstoppable. They called it Artemis, after the Greek goddess of the hunt, a fitting name for a machine designed to track and strike with relentless precision. Auterion's press release on October 16, 2025, announced the milestone. Artemis had completed testing and was ready for mass production. Developed in partnership with an unnamed Ukrainian manufacturer, kept secret to shield it from Russian strikes, the drone was a marvel of collaboration. "We've built Artemis to be a game-changer," Auterion stated. designed to operate in the toughest conditions. Drawing on Ukraine's battlefield expertise and our software innovation, the specs were jaw-dropping. Artemis could fly 1,000 miles, carry an 88-pound warhead, and navigate with or without GPS, thanks to Auterion's Visual Navigation system and Skynode N mission computer. Unlike Ukraine's Auterion, which relied heavily on GPS, Artemis could outsmart Russia's jammers, using AI to guide itself to targets with pinpoint accuracy. Its nose-mounted camera, reported by Defense Express, offered real-time video feeds, potentially doubling as a reconnaissance tool. An electric motor, rare for long-range drones, made it quieter, a ghost in the sky. Additional antennas ensured robust communication, even in contested environments. But Artemis wasn't just about specs. It was about trust. In March 2025, U.S.-Ukraine relations hit a low, with military aid stalled amid political tensions. The idea of a joint project seemed impossible. Yet, by October, the two nations were not just allies, but partners in innovation. "This is the innovation cycle," said Mikhailo Fedorov, Ukraine's deputy prime minister, at the Defense Tech Valley Expo in September 2025. "If your products aren't tested in Ukraine, you're not competitive." The U.S. heard the call, and Artemis was the result, a drone that could serve both nations and their allies. Behind the gleaming circuits and whirring propellers of Artemis lies a human story, one of sacrifice, resilience, and quiet heroism. In Kyiv, a young engineer named Olena works late into the night, her desk littered with schematics and coffee cups. Her brother, a soldier, was killed in Donetsk, and every line of code she writes is a tribute to him. "I can't fight on the front," she says, her voice steady but eyes distant. "But I can give our soldiers wings." In Virginia, an Auterion programmer named Michael pores over data from Ukraine's battlefield tests. His daughter asks why he's always working. "Because there are people counting on us," he tells her, thinking of Olena and her team, thousands of miles away. For Michael, Artemis isn't just a project, it's a promise to a nation under fire. On the front lines, a Ukrainian drone operator named Dmytro, call sign Hawk, monitors his screen as a Auterion drone strikes a Russian fuel depot 800 miles away. His hands tremble, not from fear, but from the weight of hope. "Every strike saves lives," he says. "But we need something better, something Russia can't stop." When he hears about Artemis, his eyes light up. This could change everything. These stories weave together in the Artemis project, a tapestry of shared purpose. Ukraine's engineers bring the raw, unfiltered knowledge of war. Every explosion, every loss, every victory. Auterion's team adds the polish of AI, turning battlefield lessons into algorithms that defy Russia's defenses. Together, they're not just building a drone, they're building a legacy. What makes Artemis truly revolutionary? It's not just the range or the payload, it's the software. Auterion's Skynode N mission computer is the brain of the operation, enabling Artemis to navigate in GPS-denied environments. Russia's jamming technology, once a nightmare for Ukrainian drones, is rendered impotent. "Software-driven autonomy is changing deterrence," said Auterion CEO Lorenz Meyer. Artemis is built for scale, ready to be deployed by any ally. The drone's design also draws inspiration from an unlikely source, Russia's Shahed 136. Defense Express noted similarities in shape, but Artemis is no copycat. Its electric motor reduces noise, its extra antennas ensure communication redundancy, and its camera offers real-time targeting. Unlike the Shahed, which relies on brute force and numbers, Artemis is precise, adaptable, and resilient. It's a hunter, not a hammer. This technology has broader implications. Ukraine's own GPS jamming, used to counter Russian drones, creates a complex battlefield where both sides struggle to operate. Artemis, however, can navigate these dead zones, giving Ukraine a strategic edge. As Business Insider reported on October 16, 2025, Ukrainian pilot Dmytro Zluktenko explained the challenge. "We coordinate to pause our jammers for launches, but it's a risk. Artemis eliminates that risk, flying freely where others falter." For the U.S., Artemis is a wake-up call. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, in a 2025 statement, warned, "Drone technology is advancing so rapidly. Our major risk is risk avoidance." The U.S. has poured trillions into jets and tanks, but neglected drones. Ukraine's success, destroying Russia's invincible T-90M tanks with cheap UAVs, proved the gap. Artemis, co-produced in the U.S., Ukraine, and Germany, is the first step toward closing it. Artemis isn't just a Ukraine-U.S. project. It's shaping NATO's future. With Auterion producing drones in Germany and NATO allies like the UK investing hundreds of millions into Ukraine's drone industry, a unified, battle-tested drone platform is emerging. This is about building a NATO standard for drones, says Fedorov, turning fragmented capabilities into a scalable anti-jamming force. Ukraine isn't just a partner, it's leading the way. Every drone tested and deployed teaches the West how to fight in a drone-driven war. For civilians like Irina in Lviv, drones are lifelines, protecting homes, schools, and hospitals. For the U.S., Artemis is humbling. A smaller ally is innovating faster, turning necessity into ingenuity. As mass production ramps up, Artemis ensures resilience. No single attack can halt its deployment. NATO gains unity, the U.S. modernizes its forces, and Ukraine strikes back against aggression, reclaiming its land. Every drone in the sky is more than technology. It's freedom, protection, and hope. Artemis is proof that when nations unite, innovation and courage can soar above the chaos, lighting the way to victory.